Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the second trade collecting Jeremy Adams Flash run. This is volume 17 of this run of Flash trades, I think starting with Rebirth and maybe still going. I don't know if they restarted it. But this volume is called Eclipsed. So, last volume, about the back half, was Jeremy Adams stuff, and it was like a 4, 5, 6 issue arc about taking Wally, who had, over the past few years, killed people and kind of become a villain and was just a disaster, taking him, cleaning him up, getting him back in the driver's seat as the Flash. And so, right off the bat in this volume, it's quickly establishing what his home life is like, because we didn't get to see much of that in the previous volume. And it's also basically really quickly just being like, okay, he needs a job, because you don't make money being a superhero. He needs work. So quickly we establish him looking for a job, getting a job as a mechanic at like a little mechanic shop. That mechanic shop ends up being owned by Mr. Terrific, who learns that Wally is working there and basically pulls him up into like his big company. He's like, no. You're wasting your skills down here just working on cars. Come work for me at my big company here. You can work on more complex machinery, and also I know you're the Flash, so if you gotta run out and just save people for a minute, no big deal. So we get that out of the way really quick, and it's a very, like, I want to say convenient, but we're like in a point where there's so many superheroes and so many of them have so many, large businesses, that it makes sense that other heroes would just end up working there. And I don't really know many others that are kind of like that, at least right now, right? Like, that's a good setup. It's like, all right, here's a millionaire superhero with a bunch of like companies and stuff. Other superheroes can work here. They can go do superhero things, and it's no big deal. That's cool, and it gets rid of the drama around like trying to balance work and superhero stuff, which could be a problem later on and could leave some interesting stories just out of play because we can't touch on that because we got him this easy job. But that's fine. I don't need that in every story. But yeah, that's how this volume starts, and we get 3 little stories in this. First one is like I think it's 2 issues. The second one might be a single issue, might be 2, and then the third story is the rest of the issues in this. So the first story is about Heatwave, and apparently at some point in the recent past, he retired from being a villain. And this 2-issue arc is about him coming back as a villain. He has cancer, and now he's just mad and burning things. And we get like a little fight with him in the Flash, and then that 2-issue arc ends with him going to join the Suicide Squad. There wasn't a lot of meat there. Like, the interesting things from those 2 issues was Wally getting a job. The next arc that may have been 1 issue, I don't remember, it's Wally and his daughter basically like going to his school dance, the first father-daughter dance. Isn't that cute? But when they try to go, they're interrupted by a supervillain who is making people's nightmare. Like, he built a machine that he puts on people's heads, and it like creates their nightmares in reality, but it's just creating monsters from people's nightmares, right? And he's trying to like rob banks or something. I don't really remember. But Wally and his daughter save the day, but they miss the dance, and they end up like, Wally takes her to Paris, and they just have a little cute dance in front of the Eiffel Tower. And that's that little arc. Final arc, and this is, again, the bulk of the volume, I didn't find particularly interesting. First couple issues, like the looking for work stuff, I enjoyed, and I thought that was interesting. The little father-daughter dance thing I thought was cute, and just like a nice little short story. The Eclipso stuff in this, who is the main villain of this big arc here, I didn't care for overall. So, a giant, like, spear, I guess, ends up on Earth, and it's corrupting people and making them angry. And Wally, for some reason, is the only one not getting affected, Dr. Fate shows up, and they go on a wild adventure through weird, like, realities and stuff, end up in Gem World, where they fight Eclipso and win. And I don't know, it's just not, it wasn't very compelling to me. And it kind of, like, I enjoyed the first arc of Jeremy Adams' run a lot. This volume really just sort of slowed down, and I still want to keep going, but I'm not as eager to continue reading as I was. The most interesting things from the final arc in this is Wally's kids doing superhero-y things. They established that they are going to the same school with Animal Man's kids, at least his daughter. What is her name? Maxine Baker, I think. Which is neat because I had recently read some Justice League International stuff, and in the Justice League Europe issues, like, Wally and Buddy are, like, hanging out. So that's neat to have her here, and maybe Animal Man will show up at some point. But then at the end of this, we give Wally's son, whose name I don't remember, we give him his superpowers back. And that's sort of like the big thing from that whole arc. I don't really remember a whole lot else that happened in it. Oh, no, that's not true. I remember one thing. There's one issue that's kind of interesting where it's like Wally and Dr. Fate going through, like, a different, like, dimension or whatever. They're in, like, a cave, and there's, like, ruins and stuff. And throughout the issue, they're telling you, like, all right, open the book, or, like, hold the book upside down and flip the page. And so throughout, as you're reading it, you're, like, turning the book, and, like, it's laid out sideways, but it's also, like, if you turn it 90 degrees, the room is now vertical, and not just the panels. I don't know how to explain this, but, like, instead of standing upright, like, they're standing in the same direction that you're holding the book, but the ground is at, like, their left. So they're now, like, hanging in the air. I'm stupid and can't explain it well. But basically, as you're turning it, upside down is way easier to explain. I don't know why I explained it sideways. So if you hold the book upside down, the characters are now upside down. They're floating in the air. They're not touching the ground. Things like that. Like, you're turning it, you're twisting it. There's a weird one where it's like, all right, there's a bunch of lights in this room. Blow out the lights. And they expect you to blow on the book, which is kind of goofy. But, like, all the flipping of the pages and stuff was kind of fun. There was a point in that issue where it's like, all right, here is a puzzle. Go back through the issue and find the symbols. And it's like, all right, I did, like, a quick flip through, found a couple symbols, and then just carried on. So I think that was a fun issue that they tried to go a little further with the gimmick than I was willing to do. Like, I'm not going to blow on the book. I'm not going to look through the issue again to try and find the little symbols that you hid. But the flipping and stuff was kind of neat and well done. And then giving Wally's son his powers back, which he seems to have, like, super strength for some reason. He doesn't have, like, fast powers, and I don't know why. It's strange, because I don't know how the Speed Force, which is what gives these people their speed, would be able to give him super strength. I don't get it. And I'm hoping that in a later issue they'll explain his powers a bit and how they work, because basically the solution for why Wally wasn't affected by the thing, the spear making everybody angry, was like, oh, he had so much speed force in his body that it couldn't affect him, and the only way to get rid of that speed force is to, like, inject it into his son to give him his superpowers back, but now more stable so he doesn't lose them again, or something like that, right? I don't know. Overall, not my favorite trade. This wasn't as strong as the first arc Jeremy Adams did. Wally and his family, I think, is nice, and getting to see more of them is nice, and having everybody get their powers now is good, and, like, maybe we'll see more of that. But, like, each individual arc in this is just sort of whatever. The first arc with Heatwave, didn't really care much for it, except for, you know, Wally looking for work. I found that to be interesting and made a lot of sense where he ended up. The second arc with him and his daughter was just fine, kind of throwaway but cute. And then the final arc was long, but it didn't feel like it had a whole lot of meat to it. So, overall, it was an okay volume, not my favorite. I'll check out the next trade eventually, but I'm not in like a huge rush to get to it now. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Flash Eclipsed by Jeremy Adams. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.